The Big Green Book, written by Robert Graves, pictures by Maurice Sendak. The Big Green Book. Long ago, a little boy called Jack lived with his uncle and his aunt and a big dog who used to chase rabbits in a house among the fields. Jack's father and mother were dead, and the uncle and aunt were not very nice to him. What Jack didn't at all like was when the uncle and aunt took him for nice long walks in the fields instead of letting him go out alone with the dog. One day, he went to play in the attic of his house, and there he found a big green book hidden under an old sack in the corner. Jack took up the big green book and began to read it. He hoped it was a storybook, but he found it was something far better. His eyes got bigger and bigger as he read. The big green book was full of magic spells. It told him how to make himself as old or young as he liked, and how to change the look of things, and how to make birds or animals do just as he liked, and how to disappear. At the end, there were spells for winning card games and for learning lessons just by looking at them for a moment. I can't tell you how all these things were done, because this was a long time ago, and the big green book of magic has now disappeared too. But most of the spells in books begin with, first you make a magic circle around you with a long stick, and then you take 3 deep breaths. Jack hid the big green book under his shirt and went out of the house to read it in a field beyond the garden. He sat down and said to himself, I had better change into an old man first, so that if my uncle and aunt see me, they won't ask, What is that big green book you have there? So he made a circle around himself with a long stick, took 3 deep breaths, and read one of the magic spells out of the book. Soon he found he was not a little boy anymore. He was an old man with a long beard. But because he still had his own clothes, he said another spell and changed them into rags so that if his aunt and uncle came by, they would not know who he was. He went on reading and reading in the big green book and trying all the magic spells and having great fun. The aunt wanted to take Jack for a nice long walk that day. She looked for him in the attic, but he was not to be found. And then in the garden, but he was not to be found. And she called, but he did not come. So she and the uncle went to look for him in the fields, but he was not to be found in the fields. When they went up to the attic window and looked all around for miles, they could see no one but a ragged old man sitting in a field beyond the garden. He was reading a big green book. The aunt said to the uncle, We must ask that ragged old man if he has seen Jack anywhere. We will, said the uncle. So they took the dog, who used to chase rabbits, out of the house and went through the garden into the field. As they came up, the ragged old man, who was really Jack all the time, hid the big green book under his rags and said a spell to make himself disappear. The uncle said to the aunt, I saw an old man, didn't you? But he has disappeared. Jack went behind them quietly and then took off the spell so that he could be seen again. Then he said, Good morning. They turned around and said, Old man, there you are. Have you seen a little boy anywhere? Jack began to laugh. Why do you laugh, old man? Asked the uncle. Jack said, It was such a funny thing to ask me. Yes, a little boy was here only a minute ago. He said his name was Jack. Now he has disappeared. Thank you very much, old man, said the uncle and aunt. We must go and look for him. Stop and have a game of cards with me first, said Jack. He now knew all the magic spells for winning games, and he had used another spell for turning some old dead leaves into a pack of cards. The uncle and aunt said, Very well, we will play against you for $1 a game. They then sat down in the field and began to play cards with Jack. They lost the game. The next time they played for $2 a game and lost. And the next time they played for $4 and lost. And the next time for $8 a game and lost. Each time they were sure that they would win everything back and doubled the dollars, but they always lost until they owed Jack about $100,000. That's enough, said Jack. I'm too lucky for you. Pay me the $100,000 and we can stop playing. Give us only one more game, said the uncle. I'm sure I'll win everything back this time if you double the dollars again. When he lost the game, the uncle said, We should have never played cards against you, old man. You are so lucky, and now we have no more dollars left. But give us one more chance, and if we lose this game, you can have our house and garden, and our dog who chases rabbits, and everything else. Yes, give us another chance, said the aunt. Very well, said Jack. They played another game, and again the uncle lost. Then the uncle and aunt said, One last game, old man. Then either you give us back the money and the house and the garden and the dog who chases rabbits and everything else, or we will be your servants for the rest of our lives. Very well, said Jack, and they played again and lost again. We are your servants for the rest of our lives, said the uncle and aunt. Now what will happen to poor little Jack?